Hello and welcome. On today's episode, I'm going to share with you how you can prove source of funding and convince the consular that you have sufficient funding for your F1 visa. I'll also give some tips on how to get your visa approved. So make sure you stick along. Let's get right into the video. My name is Alfred Appiah, and on this channel, myself and Paul, we talk about everything study abroad and visa that has to do with US and Canada. So please, if you are new here, consider subscribing so that when we upload any video, you can be the first to access it. Also, check the video description section for our Telegram page so that you can join and have your questions answered. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section as well. So, proving funds for your F1 visa is one of the important requirements for getting your visa approved. A lot of people go to the embassy and get their visas refused, and because they are issued the letter with 214B, they think they were denied because they didn't prove ties to home country. But sometimes the problem is funding, because students are not able to convince the consulates enough for their visas to be approved. Think about it this way. You are coming to the United States to study, and the visa you are coming with is a non-immigrant visa that does not allow you to work. So how do you prove to the consular that whilst you are in the United States, you can take care of yourself? It is not about just having the money, it is about convincing the consular. So before we go on, let me give you the 3 sources of funds you can use to get your F1 visa approved. The first one is scholarships. So here, I'm talking about scholarships from your school, graduate assistantships, and other teaching assistantship opportunities that you will get in your school that comes with money, right? Then we have scholarships from organizations, from NGO, external scholarships, and even scholarships from government. All these are part of scholarships. Now we also have sponsorship. By sponsorship, we are talking about monies that are coming from friends, families, and loved ones who are willing and able to support your studies whilst you are in the United States. And the last source of funding is personal funding. Here we are talking about personal savings or money you have gathered yourself to sponsor your studies. We are talking about loans that you have acquired to sponsor your studies. There are some people who go to the interview with scholarship. Now, it is very helpful when you get some amount of scholarship for your studies, because consulates believe that scholarships are reliable sources of funds for students. So assuming you have scholarship from your school, the consulate believe that that money is readily available. That money is money that can take care of you. Also, when you have scholarship, it also proves that you are unique, you are special, you have something that the school or the organization or the government have seen in you to support you. So people who have scholarships have high chances of getting their visas approved. So when you have a scholarship, it is very helpful for your F1 visa approval. The second thing is sponsorship. The fact that scholarships are helpful in your visa approval does not mean you cannot use sponsorship to get your visas. There are people who have gotten their visas without scholarships. The most important thing, as I said, is not about having the funds. The most important thing is proving and convincing the consular. That is 2 different things. A lot of people have the funds, they have the means, but when they go for the interview, they are not able to convince the consular. So when it comes to sponsorship, you are convincing the consular that there's somebody somewhere who is able and willing to give you specific amount of money for your studies. This is where it becomes difficult for many people who use other relatives. So, for example, if your uncle, your in-law, your faraway relative or friend or somebody is sponsoring you, the question is, why would the person raise so much amount of money to sponsor you? That is what you must prove to the consular. That is what you must convince the consular by explaining and establishing the relationship between you and the person that warrants, that necessitate the person to give you so much to come and study in the United States. Because as I said, it's not about the fact that the person has money. It is about convincing the consular. Why would somebody give you $30,000 to come and study? That is what you must establish. If your sponsorship is coming from your father, you have to also prove, as I said, why your father is sponsoring you. And that is important. You don't just say your father, your uncle, your in-law is sponsoring you because he is the one who has been taking care of you. That is not a convincing answer enough. If your uncle, your father, somebody is sponsoring you, what is the connection? It may be that you have been working for the person. It may be that you received an award in your school as the best student and your uncle was happy and he promised to sponsor your further studies. It may be that in your family you are the first to acquire your master's or your PhD and your father is happy about it. So there must always be a unique reason why somebody is sponsoring your studies. Because as I said, why will somebody raise so much in money to sponsor you? Now, then we come to those people who have their sponsors in the United States. I've had a lot of people who are asking me questions that, hey, Alfred, my sponsor, my auntie, my brother, my uncle, or whoever is in the United States and he's willing to give me bank statement to sponsor me. The first point is, anyone can sponsor you from anywhere in the world. Location cannot affect your visa approval. However, if your sponsor is in the United States, it means you must not only establish the fact that your sponsor can take care of you, you must also convince the consular that after studies you will come back. You must establish that your sponsor do not provide a tie for you in the US, because one of the requirements is for you to prove ties to your home country. So if through your sponsorship the consular can detect that you have ties in the US, it can affect your F1 visa approval. So whilst you can use anyone in the United States, or whilst anyone can sponsor you from the United States, it gives you additional responsibility to prove to the consular that you will come back after your studies. That is very, very important. It gives you additional responsibility. What it means is that you must first establish why the person is giving you so much to sponsor you, and also establish to the consular that you will come back. Additionally, what makes sponsorship from the United States very difficult is, now, assuming your sponsor has $40,000 in his bank account and your sponsor is using $20,000 to sponsor you. What it means is that at the end of the day, your sponsor will be left with $20,000 to live with in the United States. So if your sponsor is a person who has family, who has responsibility, it becomes difficult for the consular to be convinced that your sponsor is financially capable to sponsor you. Even though they are in the United States, they are doing good job, because the consulars understand the US system. They know how much a person needs to survive annually. So if somebody gives you $20,000 out of their $40,000, it is left with $40,000, and that makes it difficult for the consular to believe that the person can sponsor you. That is not only limited to people in the United States, it is also applicable in your sponsors in your home country. If your sponsor, your brother, your uncle, or whoever is sponsoring you has, let's say, $40,000 in his bank statement and is giving you $20,000 out of it, the question is that would the amount left be enough to take care of himself and his family? That is another thing you must establish. So that brings in the question that people ask me frequently, that how much do I need in my bank statement to get my F1 visa approved? Well, there are no specific answer to that. As I explained, you must always prove that your sponsor has money, and out of that, your sponsor can sponsor you. And when your sponsor sponsors you, right, the money that will be left will be able to take care of himself and his activities. So if you are looking for $20,000 and your bank statement shows $30,000, it means that your sponsor is not financially capable. But if you are looking for $20,000 and your bank statement shows $60,000, it shows that out of the $60,000, you will receive $20,000 and $40,000 will be left. That is quite sizable, a good amount of money to take care of your sponsor and whatever he is doing. So it is important. I always tell people it is important to get a bank statement which is at least 3 times what you need or 2 times what you need, so that after whatever you need have been taken out of it, you have twice of what is left. Now, let's come to personal funding. You are going to the United States and you are sponsoring yourself. You must prove to the consular and convince the consular why you are spending so much of your savings to study. So here it is important to establish why the course is important to you, how the course will make you better off, how the course will better your life as part of your explanation at the interview room. So you can contract loans, you can use personal savings to sponsor yourself, even if you don't get scholarship or another sponsorship. But you must explain and prove how you came by the money, how you are able to raise that money. This is where who you are comes in, the kind of job you are doing and how that job is able to give you enough savings for whatever you need for your sponsorship. Now, one common thing I have noticed among F1 visa applicants is the fact that many of us go to the interview with sponsorship from other relatives. So the consulators have become overly used to my uncle is sponsoring me, my auntie is sponsoring me. So in Africa, if you take 10 people who are going for F1 visa interview, about 6 of them are sponsored by their uncle. So that comes to say, does it mean our uncles are too responsible in Africa? Because everyone is being sponsored by his uncle, by his auntie. So many at times the consulators have doubts when we tell them that our uncle or our aunties are sponsoring us, because they have heard this over and over. Almost all the time, our uncle, our auntie are sponsoring us. So what you have to do to be unique is to, as I said, explain and establish the relationship, that unique thing, that important reason why your uncle is sponsoring you. That is what will differentiate you from the rest. Don't just go and say, my uncle is sponsoring me, and leave it there. Let me address people who want to use investment funds and investment accounts as proof of fund for their F1 visa. It is important to know that consulates or visa officers are looking for liquid accounts. This means that they are looking for monies that will be readily accessible and available to students when they need them for their studies. So if you are using investment account, usually every investment has maturity date, and until it matures, the money cannot be accessed. So consulates do not consider investment accounts and investment funds as liquid enough to sponsor yourself. So if you are thinking of using an investment as a means of fund, it is something maybe you must reconsider, and also see other ways you can access funds. Please like, subscribe, and share for others to also watch this wonderful video. Always remember that theology is fine. Trust me.